of the best things that have come out of you starting VentureBlog?
You know, it's funny. When I started VentureBlog, I would go to conferences and I'd have conversations with people, and they'd say, and I'd inevitably say, you know, I write this blog. It's called VentureBlog, and you know, they would say,
Right.
yeah,
What's a blog?
Yeah, right. Okay, whatever. I mean, but maybe 1 in 10 of them would say, oh yeah, I think I've read that. You know, and I'd say, oh, cool, you read it? What'd you read? And they'd be like, I was just saying that, David. I haven't read it. You know, whatever. So, you know, now when I go to a conference, I'm having a conversation where the more frequent is, you know, I totally don't agree with your thing on VentureBlog where you said X.
Right.
Or you're totally right about that. I agree. Which is just a very different conversation, right? So I met with an entrepreneur just yesterday, and he came in, and he was talking about an idea he had and how he's thinking about it. And at the end of it, he said, you know, luckily I'd read VentureBlog before I came in here, and so I could skip the first 20 minutes of this conversation where I talked to you about social networks and how this and that, because,
I know what you think.
I know, right, I know. All I can say is I don't agree with you on this, and I'm thinking about these sets of things. And so I think that's great. I think, you know, I also count my investment in Six Apart as an incredible result of having been a user of their great software. In fact, I'm using all of their platforms at this point. You know, Movable Type, which is my VentureBlog is on, and I have a blog, personal blog called Says Me that's on TypePad. That's really. Thank you. No, it's like making fun of my wife and children, as only you're allowed to do in the blog sphere. And then I have my personal blog that's really a kind of daily chronicle of the things that go on in my life is on Vox, which is another 6-part thing. And so, you know, I forget whether it's davidhornik.typepad.com or Hornik. But anyway, you know, Vox is incredible because suddenly I have a place where I can publish pictures of and videos of my kids and say, hey, this is just for friends and family. And when my mom goes and looks at the blog, or my sister or my brother, they see, oh, this is what happened today. And when I go, I see what my sister's been doing, and I see my cousin let us all know that she was engaged on Vox. I mean, you know, because it was just the quickest. It was, hey, check out the ring, and more details to come. You know, which would have taken how many phone calls before, and then, you know, that could follow, of course. But so I'm excited about all of those platforms as interesting ways to communicate with different groups of people, right? I mean, VentureBlog is different from the audience of Vox, is very different from the audience of Says Me, but all on this unified platform that I think helps people publish to the web in interesting ways. And, you know, I got to know the company through VentureBlog, and I think that they ultimately were interested in taking my money because they knew I understood the blogging world and I understood the social media world. So I think there have been lots of great things that have come of it, and I remind myself of that when I'm writing at 2 in the morning. You know, lots of things, good things have come of this.
Right.
Now, what have I said?